Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. This is video number 2 in the video series, How I Built My House. And basically, I'm going over step by step how I designed and built my own house. I'm just a normal guy, not a home builder. And in the first video, I explained how I got to that decision, which was buying this land and being somewhat in a bad situation, buying the land with the hopes of having a builder build us a turnkey house. And the cost was so much higher than what we expected. So we ended up building our own house, and I wrote a book about it, and I'm going to do this video series to cover all the stuff I talked about in the book, or at least a high level. There's no way I could put it all in here. So the first video I talked about that, what led me up to build this. The second video I'm going to talk about how do you plan your house, what are you going to build, and how did I decide what I was going to build. And that has to do with your environment. As I said in the first video, a home is a building meant to separate you from the environment. So what is that environment? Do you live north? Do you live south? Do you live in the Midwest? These are all drastically different environments. If you live in northern Canada, you're probably not so much worried, or not worried about solar gain. If you live down south in Phoenix, Arizona, or wherever, El Paso, Texas, you care a lot about solar gain. You don't care as much about heating your house. So they're two different things. And then for some reason, and I don't know why, I don't know if it's national chains or national literature or national code standards, I don't know. But they're building the same houses in Phoenix, Arizona as they are in Portland, Maine. And there's no reason for that. That's one reason that I think building where I live is probably the most difficult. I'll give you an example. So vapor is a huge problem in houses. How do you control vapor? Especially as we super insulate houses. In the summer here, it's incredibly humid. We want to dry the house to the inside with an air conditioner. In the winter, it's dry. So where do you put the vapor barrier? Well, if you read the Tyvek's stuff, the information with it, it says to put the vapor barrier on the warm side of the wall. Well, that's easy when you live in Canada. The warm side of the wall is the inside. You're going to heat from the inside. Well, if you're way down south, that's going to be on the outside. But what do we do here? In the summer, it can be 95, 100 degrees, and in the winter, it can be 0. So these are just some of the things that you have to wrestle when you come to building your own house, especially if you're going to design your own house. And so what led me to ICF, that's what I built, insulated concrete forms. I didn't initially set out to build that. What led me to that was we had always had houses with basements. This is our 7th house. We'd always had a basement. We have storms here. We just had a horrific tornado that's killed probably 100 people. No less than 100 miles from here. So that's a major concern of ours, and we always thought basements were safe. And that's a whole nother story, but we always wanted to have a basement. The first house we built had a basement, and that's what we wanted. Well, we went to build house now, no kidding, for this house, we were talking to home builders. They said that would add $50,000 to $60,000 to the build. And this is one reason I was incapable of doing business with people like this, because I did not feel that they were being honest. Now, I believe that those are the numbers they're paying, subbing, or something. I don't know. I don't get the numbers. So I drew this house up. It's 40 by 40, 1,600 square feet. I was talking to a home builder, and he told me that, oh, 50 to 60,000. I said, where do you get that number? You haven't even seen, the plan I drew up. He said, well, how big is it? 1,600 square feet. Well, that's how much it is. I'm thinking, you haven't even taken into account the simplicity of a 4-corner house, but leave that aside. I just pulled out the information. I already had it figured out. I said, it's 1,440 blocks. They're about $1 a piece. That's $1,440. It calls 43 bags of Portland cement. That's $620. 5 tons of sand, that's $100. Waterproofing, excavation, concrete, everything. I get about $6,000. But I'll round it to 10 because I'm not a builder. I don't know. Maybe there's stuff I don't know. Maybe we have to do some more waterproofing or a sump or, whatever it is. Whatever it is. I rounded to 10,000. You said 60. That's a $50,000 swing. So actually, I'll tell you, when I was in high school, I worked one summer for a block layer. He was a bricklayer. And so you're telling me this would have been about a week job. You're telling me that it's $50,000 in labor for a week? No. I think some other people are marking these bids up. So anyway, it's like when you're sitting in a meeting and somebody tells you one lie, you can't trust anything they say, and that's the way I feel. So I couldn't trust anything they said. The numbers they gave me, I just never trusted them. So anyway, I knew I wanted something that we would feel safe in. Initially, I was going to do 2x6 walls, but through a search on the internet, I found ICF, and I absolutely fell in love with it just because of the sheer strength of it. So this house is 6-inch poured concrete walls. But anyway, I'll take you through the thought process. I mean, I had nothing I took off the table when I was considering the way to build. Now, I was looking at traditional, like I said, 2x6 building. I looked at pole barn buildings. They're pretty popular around here. People build pole barns and convert them into houses. I really liked the idea. But one thing I found was it's no cheaper. It's absolutely not cheaper, which is okay. It has pros and cons like everything else. And I talk a lot about that in the book. I think for pole barns, I've written several pages. I spent a long time considering this and talking with people and visiting places and doing tours and everything. But the one thing I figured out when building this house, you have to beat them using their own system. You have to use quality materials. You have to use concrete footers and foundations. Yes, I know you can do that with a pole barn. Yes, I know you can do a lot of things. But pole barns were designed to be agricultural buildings. They have poles every 8 feet on center. So by the time you do that, and then frame it up 16 inches on center for insulation and drywall, and then you still have wooden poles in the ground. Well, you can put them on you can put them on concrete. Yes, you're right. Well, by the time you put a concrete footer, you stud it up like a regular house, you built a regular house. So you've lost all your efficiencies. About this time when I was building, these tiny homes were popular. There was a TV show like these tiny homes. And I never had any desire to build a tiny house, but I used that as a metric to say, if people can live in 400 square feet, we can live in 1,600. And those houses on that show, now granted, economies are different everywhere. I was watching these people build $150,000 tiny houses. It made no sense to me. Once again, I'm a numbers guy. When you shrink a house, what they were doing was shrinking all the cheap part of the house. Kitchens and bathrooms. That's where the money's at, right? Now granted, every square foot your house is bigger, it costs more money, but not all those spaces are equal. I mean, if you're still going to have a bathroom, you're still going to have a kitchen, you're still going to have a pantry, you're going to have bedrooms, all those things. When you shrink them, you're shrinking empty space. And so that's why the cost is so high. And the reason the cost is so high is because everything becomes custom. That's where I say you have to beat them at their own game. You have to use building materials that are already established. That's how you're going to win. When you start customizing everything, and everything is a custom kitchen and a custom teeny little bathroom, the price goes crazy. And I can prove it, because I built this for cheaper than a tiny house, because I used industry material. And I don't know if you have ever seen or heard of cordwood houses. Cordwood houses are built, they're like, if you think of a log cabin, it's long logs. Cordwood, they cut them and put them like this and stack them like a stack of firewood. And I really like this idea. One, because I have tons of trees. But it inherently has other problems. Some other things looked at was straw bale. I really like straw bale. Straw bale houses would be awesome if you lived in the Southwest. It's too humid here. You just can't do it. If you plaster over the straw, you're just going to get mold. If you live in a place, and I know I'm talking about a ton of stuff here, and that's why I wrote this book, because there's so much to cover. I really like straw bale. I really like cordwood. I do not like yard barn houses. I've seen a lot of videos on here. Like I said, I left nothing out. I researched everything. I was trying to find that unicorn, the perfect house that was really cheap and it was easy to do, and it doesn't exist. I'm sorry, it doesn't. Yard barns are not meant to live in. I'm not saying you can't live in them. I'm just saying it's not a house. It was never intended to be a house. So you're going to run into issues. Shipping containers. I've seen a lot of shipping containers. I don't understand why anybody would do that. Shipping containers are metal. You shouldn't make a house out of metal. Metal is 400 times more conductive than wood. That's why they don't make wooden frying pans and wooden wire. And it's why you shouldn't put metal in your house, because it conducts energy. And the whole point of your house is to shelter you thermally from the environment. So you lose all the efficiency of any one of these. All these can fall in the same category as far as yard barn, shipping containers, tiny houses, things like that. They're easy, they're quick, but that doesn't make them better. And as far as tiny houses are concerned, and especially they put some of them on trailers, that has actually already been invented. It's called a camper. I've had several of them. They're nice, but you don't have to spend $100,000 on a tiny house on a trailer. You can just buy a camper. And there's a used market for them. There's parts suppliers. You can upgrade. You can move them around easily. That's what they're designed to do. So anyway, I know I'm really jumping around here, but let's just say I spent a lot of time looking at every single option. I looked at log homes, building my own log cabin. And everything led me to ICF. And what I love about ICF is like stacking giant Lego blocks. You fill them with concrete, and it's stronger than any one of those houses. By factors of, I don't even know, but like 10 to 1. You cannot compare a poured concrete wall with a pole barn with a pole every 8 feet. It's not even close. This is a 500-year house. I write about that in my book. You should build a 500-year house. You're thinking, well, if you're a math guy, why would you build a house that lasts longer than one day of your life? And I'm thinking, because you're going to sell that house. I don't care what you say. You're going to sell the yard barn house, the shipping container house, the cordwood house, all these irregular homes. You're going to sell it one day. Or your kids are, or an estate auction is. Somebody's selling that house someday. And, heaven forbid you make your dream house you're going to live in forever, and then life changes and you have to move. That house needs to be able to be sold, because you have tied so much of your net worth up into that house. You just can't afford to leave it behind. So you need to, in my opinion, have something that can be sold on the market. Yes, I built a somewhat atypical house for this area, but it's not that atypical. The atypical part is it's really strong and it's super insulated, and it's going to last forever, or nearly forever. Hundreds of years it will last. If a tornado comes and rips the roof off, we can put a new roof on and we still have a house. So anyway, that's what led me to ICF. I will tell you an interesting story on how I discovered ICF, just through searching the internet on houses and all these things. I saw a picture of, I don't know where, it was Mississippi, New Orleans, Mississippi, Louisiana, somewhere in that range, right after Katrina. And there are several of these pictures online if you go look. Complete neighborhoods devastated. Just wood, just houses exploded everywhere. And then 2 houses in the neighborhood looked like nothing happened to them. They were ICF houses. Sold. I couldn't afford a basement. I wanted a strong house. I wanted something that I could do. It would be really strong. I didn't want lightweight stuff. And then here's what we came up with. It's not right for everybody. There's lots of great ways to build. what I was alluding to is where you live, is that should determine what you build. If I lived in the Southwest, I would probably build a straw bale house because they're super insulated. You do not worry about mold, and they go up quick and easy. There's two ways to build those. Either the roof can sit on the straw, or you can put poles in the ground and infill it with straw. Either way, that's great. Your area should determine what you build. ICF's good everywhere. They build this North Canada. They build a lot of it down south. Not very much in the Northwest, or excuse me, the Midwest here though. And I would say places that you can't get concrete very reasonably, it would not be a good choice. Or I don't know, maybe soil issues, compaction issues or something. I don't know. But I know for me it worked really, really well. And anyway, that's where that's at. So anyway, that's about what I got for video number 2. I appreciate you guys watching the video. I hope I share a little bit of insight. I was looking through the book, and I can't, you know, I'll let you know when you can get it. I can't cover all the book on here. I mean, it would be forever. Just trying to cover some of the highlights. Each one of these things I've talked about, I go into pretty well great detail on why I did it or why I didn't do it. So hope you guys enjoy the video. Hope you learned something. That's the whole point of this. I've learned a lot from other people, and I hope to share the little things that I know and that I've done. So thanks a lot. Subscribe, like, all that fun stuff. So I'll see you on the next video.